My name is Mara Ellis. I'm 34. 3 weeks ago, my mother bought herself applause with a scar on my body. At Mother's Day brunch, she stood beside my brother and accepted roses for saving his life. She slid $500 under my plate. "Your scar can stay under your dress," she said, like my body was an embarrassing receipt. I folded the envelope once and set it beside her coffee cup. But here's what my mother didn't know. My brother had brought the hospital bracelet. She told him to throw away. That bracelet is why I'm telling this now. If your family ever asks you to hide the wound that saved them, stay with me and subscribe if quiet truth is your kind of justice. Let me take you back to the morning my mother first called my body private family business. The first morning was not dramatic. It was a Tuesday in March, cold enough that my windshield had a white skin on it. I parked outside Noah's apartment before sunrise, with a paper cup of gas station coffee in each hand. Noah was 28 then, my younger brother, and kidney disease had started stealing small things first. His color, his appetite, his ability to wake up without feeling like sleep had failed him. I knocked twice. He opened the door in sweatpants, gray-faced, trying to smile like I had not just caught him gripping the doorframe. "Morning, Mare," he said. That was Noah. If his body was failing, he still wanted to make me feel like I had not been inconvenienced. I drove him to the clinic that morning. I did it again the next week. I kept his appointment cards clipped to the visor of my car because he kept losing them under takeout menus and pharmacy bags. I worked at the public library in Ashford, Ohio, which meant people assumed my life was quiet because my job had quiet in it. They were mostly right. I shelved books. I helped older men print tax forms. I showed children how to find the dinosaur section. At 4 o'clock, I drove my brother to blood work. My mother, Diane, lived 8 minutes from that clinic. She arrived for the appointments where someone might notice her. That sounds sharp. It is still true. My mother had a gift for being seen at the right moment. If there was a prayer circle, she stood in front. If there was a casserole sign-up, she brought the one with the printed label. If someone said, "Diane, you are such a strong mother," she lowered her eyes in a way that gave them permission to keep talking. Inside our house, the rule had always been simpler. The women did the carrying. My mother did the telling. She said it with small instructions that sounded like manners. "Don't make this about you. Let Noah rest. You know how people worry. Let me handle the family part." The family part meant the version other people heard. When Noah's numbers got worse, I was the one sitting beside him while he signed forms with a shaking hand. I wrote down medication names because he hated asking doctors to repeat themselves. My mother came in near the end of one appointment wearing a pale blue sweater and carrying a tote bag full of muffins. The nurse thanked her for all she was doing. My mother put one hand over her heart. Noah looked at me. I looked down at the clipboard. That was how we handled things in my family. We swallowed the correction before it reached our tongue. 2 weeks later, the doctor said the word transplant. He said it calmly. Doctors can put a life-changing word into a normal sentence and still click their pen afterward. Noah stared at the floor. My mother began to cry before the doctor finished explaining the donor list. She cried with both hands over her face, but she spread her fingers enough to see who was watching. Then she asked the question everyone expected a mother to ask. "What can I do?" The doctor told us the testing process. Blood type first. Health screening. More steps after that. My mother nodded. In the parking lot, she stopped crying. She pulled me between 2 parked cars, away from Noah, who was moving slowly toward the passenger seat. Her mascara had not run. Mine would have. That is one of the many ways my mother was better prepared for public sorrow. "You should test," she said. I thought she meant all of us should. Then she touched my sleeve, not my hand. My sleeve, like I was something she needed to position. "You're healthy," she said. "You don't have children. You live a quiet little life." There it was. Not cruelty with teeth. Cruelty with a sensible coat on. I asked, "Are you getting tested too?" Her face changed. Just a little. "Mara," she said, "don't make this about you. I did get tested. I told myself it was for Noah." That was true. I told myself I was not doing it for my mother. That was also true, but not enough. In families like mine, truth can stand in the room and still not be the loudest thing there. I was a match. The nurse called me on a Thursday. I was in the library break room, holding a plastic fork over a salad I no longer wanted. I remember the refrigerator humming behind me. I remember a volunteer laughing in the hallway. I remember thinking my life had just split into before and after, and the room had not noticed. When I told Noah, he cried. Not loudly. Noah never did anything loudly. He sat on my couch and pressed the heels of his hands into his eyes. No, he said. Mara, no. I said, yes. He said, you don't owe me this. I said, I know. That was the only reason I could give it. My mother reacted differently. She came over that evening with a folder, a list of phone numbers, and a voice she used when she wanted to sound tired in a noble way. She said she would manage communication so I would not be overwhelmed. She said people did not need details. She said Noah deserved privacy. Then she looked at my stomach. The incision is not something we need people discussing over coffee, she said. I was not even cut open yet. That should have told me more than it did. The surgery happened in June. I will not dress it up. It hurt. It hurt in the plain, physical way people forget to mention when they praise sacrifice. A nurse helped me stand the first time, and my body felt like it had been borrowed and returned damaged. I made it 3 steps, then 5, then to the bathroom door. Noah was down the hall. My mother moved between our rooms, like a woman touring 2 houses she planned to describe later. In Noah's room, she cried over him. In mine, she checked the blinds and told me not to push the pain button too often because I would get foggy. On the second day, Noah sent a nurse to ask if he could see me. My mother said no before the nurse finished. She needs rest, she said. I did need rest. I also needed my brother. The nurse looked at me. I said, it's okay. That was not dignity, that was training. Late that afternoon, Noah came anyway. He shuffled in with an IV pole and a hospital gown tied badly at the back. He looked scared. He looked alive. He stood at the foot of my bed and cried so hard he could not speak. I lifted one hand. He took it. For 4 sentences. Nobody managed our family. He said, I don't know how to thank you. I said, take your pills. He laughed. Then he cried again. That was our holy moment. No music, no speech. Just my brother alive at the end of my bed. When we were discharged, a nurse cut the plastic band from Noah's wrist and asked if he wanted to keep it. My mother said, no, throw all that away. We're moving forward. Noah reached out. I'll keep it, he said. The nurse dropped it into his palm. It was a thin strip of hospital plastic with his name, a date, and the number that tied his body to that day. He closed his fingers around it like it was warm. My mother saw him do it. She said nothing. The first public version happened at church. I was still walking carefully. My dresses sat wrong on me because the waistband found the tender places. Noah was pale, but his eyes had color again. My mother insisted we come to the Wednesday prayer supper because people need to see answered prayer. A woman from the church hugged my mother first. Diane, we have prayed so hard for you, she said. My mother pressed her lips together. A mother does what she has to do, she said. Noah went still beside me. I waited. I thought she would turn. I thought she would put a hand on my arm. I thought some small door inside her would open and let one honest sentence out. It did not. Someone asked how I was feeling. My mother answered for me. Mara is fine, she said. She has always been private. Private is a useful word. It can mean respected. It can also mean erased with good manners. In the church hallway, I said, you could have told them I donated. She was carrying an empty casserole dish. She did not slow down. Don't make this about you. Same words. Same tone. That time Noah heard it. He looked at the floor. I do not blame him for that. He had a new kidney inside him, a mother who could turn tears into handcuffs, and a body that still needed help getting up from low chairs. He was alive, but he was not free yet. A year passed, but I am not going to list every time my mother sharpened the same lie. You only need to know the story grew legs. At Noah's birthday the next summer, my aunt raised a glass of sweet tea and called my mother the reason he is still here. Noah opened his mouth. My mother put a hand on his shoulder. Not today, she said softly. Let people be happy. I saw his jaw close. That was the cruelest part for a while. Not that she silenced me. I knew that song. It was that she made him feel kindness was the same thing as lying. After cake, I found him on the back porch. He had not eaten his slice. I should have said something, he said. I said, you were tired. He said, I'm not that tired. I said, no. But you're still scared. He looked at me then. He did not deny it. We let the silence sit between us. The porch light hummed. Somewhere in the yard, a sprinkler clicked against the fence. Noah reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the hospital bracelet. The plastic had curled a little. You kept it? I said. Yeah. Why? He rubbed his thumb over the printed date. Because everybody keeps saying she saved me, he said. I wanted one thing in my house that knew the truth. I did not cry in front of him. I wanted to. I did not. I only said, then keep it safe. He nodded and slid it back into his pocket. The next spring after that birthday, the hospital sent me a letter. It was not fancy. 1 page. Plain envelope. It thanked me for participating in the Living Donor program and reminded me about long-term health checks. My name was at the top. My donor status sat in the middle of the page in words nobody could soften. I read it at my kitchen table. Then I put it in the second drawer under my dish towels. That sounds like a strange place. It was not. My mother had a key to my apartment for emergencies. She would open a desk drawer. She would not fold laundry. 2 days later, she came by without calling. I was making toast. She said she had been asked to speak at a small luncheon for families of transplant patients. She said it as if the invitation had fallen from heaven and landed in the hands of the only qualified woman in Ashford. That's good, I said. She watched my face. You understand why I keep the story simple, she said. Do I? Mara. Just my name. A warning in 2 syllables. Then the toaster popped. I remember that because it saved me from answering too fast. I buttered the toast. I put it on a plate. I made her wait while I did the ordinary thing. She did not like that. People do not need every private detail, she said. No, I said. They need the true one. Her eyes cooled. Don't make this about you. There it was again. The family hymn. By the time Mother's Day came around 3 weeks ago, Diane had built a whole little stage out of other people's gratitude. She did not call it a stage. She called it brunch. She called it fellowship. She called it a chance to thank everyone who had prayed. But she chose the restaurant. She chose the guest list. She asked the church video volunteer to come by. Just for a few minutes. She told Noah to wear the blue shirt that made him look healthy. She told me to wear the green dress with the higher waist. It flatters you, she said. It also covered the scar. The night before the brunch, Noah texted me a picture of a small cardboard box sitting on his kitchen counter. No caption. I knew the box. I stared at the picture for a long time. Then I wrote back, Are you sure? 3 dots appeared. They disappeared. Then he sent, I'm bringing it. I set my phone face down on the table. For the first time in 3 years, my mother had planned a room she could not fully control. The next morning, I drove to Noah's apartment with orange juice and bagels. He had texted me the box. That was not the same as explaining it. Noah lived above a hardware store, in a second-floor walk-up that always smelled faintly like dust and laundry soap. His kitchen table was small enough that 2 dinner plates made it look crowded. I found him sitting there with his pill organizer open in front of him, sorting tablets into little plastic squares marked by day. He had gotten better at living. I did not say that out loud. I just stood in the doorway and watched him count. Morning pills. Evening pills. The small blue one he hated because it made his mouth taste like metal. The white one he never missed because his doctor had scared him properly. You brought carbs, he said. I brought breakfast. You brought bribery. You opened with a mysterious photograph last night, I said. You get bagels, not subtlety. He smiled, but it faded fast. He pushed the pill organizer aside and reached for the cardboard box on the counter. It was plain. No label. The kind of box a person keeps because throwing it away would feel too loud. He set it between us and opened it. Inside were 3 things. A folded discharge paper. A pharmacy card with a crease through the middle. The hospital bracelet curled into a pale loop at the bottom. Noah touched the bracelet with 1 finger. I put it in here when I got home, he said. Mom told me it was morbid. I said. She likes clean surfaces. He said. She likes clean stories. That was new from him. Not the thought, the willingness to say it. I sat across from him. He did not hand me the bracelet. I did not ask for it. It belonged to him. It had his name on it, his hospital number, the date they rolled him into surgery, the date they rolled part of me into his body. It was cheap plastic. It carried more truth than most family speeches. I asked, "Why did you send the picture?" He looked toward the window over the sink. "Because she called me yesterday." "What did she say?" "She wanted me to thank her at brunch." I let the room stay quiet. Noah rubbed both palms over his knees. "Not just thank her. She said I should say I never would have survived without my mother's sacrifice." The word sacrifice sat there. It had weight. I said, "What did you tell her?" I said I needed to think. That was smart. That was cowardly. "No," I said. Cowardly would have been saying it. He looked at me then. His face did something it used to do when we were kids, and he had broken something small. Shame first. Then relief, if I did not make it worse. "I don't want to hurt you again," he said. "You didn't erase me." I let her. "You were sick." "I'm not sick like that now." That answer changed the air in the kitchen. It did not fix 3 years. It did not give me back the prayer suppers or the birthday toasts or every time my mother smiled while my body did the quiet work. But it moved something. 1 inch. Sometimes 1 inch is not small. I reached into my bag and took out the hospital letter. Noah recognized the logo before I unfolded it. "They sent that to you?" "Last spring." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you were still learning how to be alive without apologizing for it." He looked down. I smoothed the page on the table. I did not slide it toward him like evidence in a courtroom. This was not a courtroom. This was my brother's kitchen, and his toast was burning in the toaster because neither of us had remembered to press the button up. The toaster popped by itself. Noah laughed once, soft and broken. I got up and took the toast out. 1 slice had a black edge. I scraped it over the sink with a butter knife. It was an ordinary sound. It helped. When I sat back down, I said, "If she says it again, do you want me to stop her, or do you want to?" He did not answer quickly. "Good." Fast answers are often borrowed. Finally, he said, "I want to." "Then I will not take that from you." His shoulders dropped. I did not realize how high he had been holding them until they fell. That morning, I took a picture of my donor letter. Noah laid the bracelet beside the discharge paper, and I photographed that too. No dramatic angle, no filter. Just his name, the date, and the strip of plastic my mother had wanted thrown away. I did not send the picture to anyone. I made a plain folder on my phone and kept it there. Plain names are useful when your pulse is not plain at all. Before I left, Noah walked me to the door. He moved better now, not like before, not like a man carrying his own body by force. But he still took stairs carefully, and I still noticed. "Do you think she'll really say it in front of everyone?" he asked. "Yes." He nodded, like he had already known. "Then I'll bring the box." "Bring yourself first," I said. He smiled at that. It did not last long, but it was real. 2 days before Mother's Day, my mother came to the library. She never came to the library unless she wanted to see me somewhere I would behave. I was helping an older man send a document from the public computer to the printer. The printer was making its usual grinding sound, like it resented literacy. My mother stood near the front desk in a cream blazer with gold buttons, holding a folder against her chest. She waited until I had stepped away from the patron. "Mara, do you have a minute?" At work, that sentence meant no, I said. "I have 5. She opened the folder. On top was a printed program for the Ashford Family Transplant Circle. I knew the group. They met at the church annex once a month. Mostly spouses, parents, adult children, people who had learned the language of labs and waiting rooms because somebody they loved had made them fluent. At the bottom of the program, in small print, was the name of the event coordinator, Linda Parker. I had helped Linda at the library copier the week before. She was the one who handled the event page, the speaker list, and the final program. My mother's name was printed under a section called "A Mother's Sacrifice, Diane Ellis Guest Speaker." Below that, in smaller type, "Living Donor Family Advocate." I read it once. Then I read it again. My mother watched my face. "They asked me after hearing our story," she said. "Our story." "Mara." Just my name again. She used it like a leash. I kept my voice low. Do they know you were not the donor? Her mouth tightened. That is exactly the kind of sentence that hurts people. No, I said. It identifies them. She closed the folder. We are not having this conversation here. I said. You brought it here. That landed. Not hard, just clean. For a second, she looked less like a grieving mother, and more like a woman whose receipt had been checked at the door. Then she recovered. Don't make this about you. A patron at the copier turned his head. My mother saw him do it. She softened her mouth at once. I only mean, she said quieter now. Noah's health is fragile. Public conflict would be selfish. That was her sharper talent. She could wrap a threat in concern and hand it to you like a warm dish. I looked at the program again. There it was, the thing she could lose. Not my kidney. She had never owned that. Not Noah's gratitude. She had bent it, but she had not made it. What she owned was the title she had built around our silence. Guest speaker. Advocate. Mother who sacrificed. She had printed it. Linda Parker would have to approve it. That made it heavier. I did not take the program. I did not ask for a copy. I only looked long enough to remember every word. I have to get back to work, I said. Mara, I have 4 people waiting for library cards. It was not a grand exit, it was better. I turned around and helped a retired schoolteacher renew her card, while my mother stood behind me holding her folder. There are few things more irritating to a controlling person than watching you perform a normal task. By Friday, she had escalated. She called me during lunch. I let it go to voicemail. She left one message, then another. I listened to both in my car with the windows cracked, and my sandwich still wrapped in paper. In the first, she told me the brunch seating had been arranged for Flo. Noah would sit beside her. I would sit near the end, close to the kitchen entrance, because I might need to step out. In the second, she told me she had found a dress in my size. Then a picture came through. Green dress, high waist, soft sleeves, pretty enough that the insult had manners. It would cover the scar without looking like it was designed to cover the scar. My mother had always understood fabric as a form of argument. Under the photo, she wrote, "This will photograph well. Not fit well. Not feel comfortable. Photograph well." I saved the messages, then I called Noah. "She sent the dress," I said. "I know." My stomach tightened. "You know?" "She asked me if green washed you out." That was such a small sentence. It did a large amount of work. "What did you say?" I said I didn't know. Then I asked why your clothes mattered. "And?" She said the video volunteer is coming by after dessert. I closed my eyes for 1 second, not longer. "Video volunteer," I repeated. "She wants a little tribute clip for the transplant group page." "Of course she does." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because some lies get so polished they start asking for lighting. Noah said, "Mara, I'm here. I'm bringing the box." "You said that." "I'm saying it again so I don't back out." That was honest. It deserved an honest answer. "Then I'll bring the letter." I did not call my mother back. Instead, I made 1 paper copy of my donor letter and put the original in my purse. I saved screenshots of her messages about the dress, the seating, and the video. I did not plan to wave them around. I wanted them because memory gets bullied in families like mine. A written thing can sit still when everyone else starts moving. On Saturday afternoon, I went to Noah's apartment one more time. He was standing at the stove, stirring soup he did not need to make from scratch. Cooking had become proof to him. Every chopped carrot said he was still here. Every pot he washed said his body could finish a task. The cardboard box sat on the table. Beside it was a blue button-down shirt. "She picked that too?" I asked. He nodded. "Says I look healthy in blue." "You do." "I know. That's the problem." He turned off the stove and leaned both hands on the counter. "She doesn't want me healthy. She wants me grateful in the right direction." That was the first time he said the whole shape of it. I did not soften it for him. "No," I said. "She doesn't." On Sunday morning, I wore my own dress. Navy. Simple. Comfortable at the waist. My mother called at 9:12. I did not answer. She texted at 9:14. "Did you get the green dress steamed?" I wrote back. "I'm dressed." 3 dots appeared. They vanished. Then she sent, "Please do not create tension today. I looked at that sentence for a while. My mother had arranged the chairs, the clothes, the camera, the speech, the tribute, and the lie. I was the tension because I might not vanish inside it. I put my phone in my purse beside the donor letter. Before I left, I stood at my kitchen sink and drank a full glass of water. After donation, water became a promise I kept to my remaining kidney every day. My mother had turned my body into a secret. I still had to live in it. At 10:30, Noah texted. Parking now. At 10:31, he sent one more message. I have it. I read those 3 words twice. Then I drove to brunch. The restaurant was already half full when I walked in. That was my mother's doing. Diane liked to arrive early enough to arrange a room, but late enough that people noticed she had been expected. She had chosen a private side room at Miller's table, where the iced tea was already sweating on the tables, and the coffee smelled stronger than the perfume. Mother's Day brunch in Ohio has its own weather. My mother stood near the long table, in a cream dress. Not the blazer from the library. Something softer. Something that made her look like she had been through a great deal and had chosen grace anyway. She saw my navy dress first. Her eyes dropped to my waist. Then they came back to my face. You didn't wear the green. No. It would have photographed better. I dressed myself. A tiny sentence. A useful one. Her mouth tightened, but she did not answer. Too many people were watching the version of her that smiled. Noah came in behind me wearing the blue shirt. The breast pocket was buttoned. I noticed that before I noticed his face. It was not because I cared about the shirt. It was because I knew what sat behind that button. A curled piece of hospital plastic. A date. A name. A morning my mother had tried to sweep into the trash. Noah met my eyes. I nodded once. That was all. My mother stepped between us before anyone else could read the exchange. Noah, sweetheart, sit here by me. She touched the chair beside hers. Not asked. Placed. Then she looked at me and pointed toward the far end of the table, near the swinging door to the kitchen. Mara, I saved you this seat. You'll have more room there. More room meant less visibility. I walked to the chair. I sat down. The kitchen door moved every few minutes behind me, warm air pushing out with the smell of biscuits and dish soap. Servers passed close enough that I had to tuck my purse under my feet. My mother had not hidden me. Hiding is blunt. She had made me inconvenient to look at. Noah sat beside her. The video volunteer arrived 10 minutes later. He was a soft-spoken man from the church who carried a small camera bag and apologized to every chair he bumped. My mother greeted him with both hands. Thank you so much for doing this, she said. Just a little clip for the transplant circle. Nothing formal. Nothing formal meant she had already rehearsed. On the gift table beside the doorway, there was a wrapped bouquet of white roses. A folded program lay next to it. I could see my mother's name from where I sat. Diane Ellis. A mother's sacrifice. The words did not shout. They did not need to. They sat there in black ink, neat and ready. People began filling the room. My aunt. 2 cousins. 3 women from church. Linda Parker. The transplant circle coordinator. A neighbor who had brought soup to Noah's apartment once and had never known who filled his pill organizer afterward. Every time someone came in, my mother told the same small version. We are just so grateful. Noah is our miracle. I'm only sharing because it may help another family. Her humility had stage directions. A server brought plates of fruit, then baskets of muffins, then coffee. My mother waited until everyone had something in front of them. She understood timing. People listen kindly when their hands are busy and their mouths are sweet. Then she stood. The room softened toward her. Bodies turned. Forks paused. The video volunteer lifted the camera from the table but did not turn it on yet. My mother put one hand on Noah's shoulder. He went still. I know we came here to celebrate Mother's Day, she said. But for me, this day is also about what motherhood asks of us when our children suffer. There it was, the door opening. I felt my purse against my ankle. The donor letter was inside. I did not touch it. My mother continued. When Noah got sick, I learned that a mother's body is never truly her own. We give before our children even know what giving costs. Noah's hand left the water glass. He moved it slowly to his shirt pocket, not inside, just over it. A small movement. A whole answer. That was the first reward the day gave me. Not public, not loud. Just my brother's hand over the place where the truth was folded. If someone in your family ever asked you to clap for a lie while the proof sat under their hand, write one word in the comments: truth. Because in a minute, Diane made the room choose whether it wanted comfort or facts. My mother looked toward the camera volunteer. Is now all right? He nodded and turned the camera on. A red light appeared. Small, bright, useful. That red light changed the room. It changed my mother, too. Her shoulders dropped half an inch, like she had found her mark on a stage. She smiled at Noah. My son is here because our family refused to give up, she said. And because I did what any mother would do. Noah swallowed. Linda Parker leaned forward slightly. I saw it. My mother did not. Linda's eyes moved from Diane's hand on Noah's shoulder to Noah's face. Then to me. At the end of the table, she had asked me once why I knew Noah's medication schedule. She had not forgotten. My mother kept going. I do not want recognition, she said, while standing beside the roses, in front of the camera, under a program with her name on it. But if my story helps another mother be brave, then it is worth telling. That was almost impressive. Almost. The server came behind me with a coffee pot. I moved my elbow so she could pass. She whispered. Sorry. I whispered. You're fine. My mother glanced at the interruption. Her smile did not move, but her eyes sharpened. She wanted the clip clean. That was when I saw the envelope. It had been tucked under my salad plate. White, flat. My name written on the front in my mother's careful hand. Mara, no last name. Mothers do not need last names when they are buying silence. For a second, I only looked at it. Then I lifted the edge of the plate with 2 fingers and slid the envelope free. I did not open it. I did not need to. I knew the weight of money and paper. I knew the shape of a bribe dressed as kindness. My mother saw me holding it. Her speech paused for less than a breath. Then she smiled wider. So many people do not understand what families carry privately, she said. Privately. That word again. Her favorite curtain. I placed the envelope on top of the table, beside my fork. Not hidden, not opened, not dramatic, just visible. Noah saw it, his hand pressed harder over his pocket. My mother shifted. A person who lies well can usually survive 1 loose thread. 2 makes the garment start to pull. She moved into the part of the speech she had practiced hardest. I remember telling God that if I could take my son's suffering into my own body, I would. Noah closed his eyes. Linda stopped smiling. The video volunteer kept filming. My mother touched Noah's shoulder again. And in a way, that is what happened. A mother's love became his second chance. Noah opened his eyes. He looked at me. I knew what he was asking. Not permission. We had passed that. He was asking if he could still do it kindly. I gave him the smallest nod. My mother saw the nod. She leaned toward me, still smiling for the room. Her voice dropped. It was not meant for the camera. It was meant for the child she still thought she could fold and put away. Your scar can stay under your dress. Same words. Same blade. This time, Noah heard every word. His chair moved back. Not loudly, just enough. My mother's hand slipped from his shoulder. Noah stood. Noah stood slowly. He did not push the chair back hard. He did not make a speech right away. He only stood there beside my mother, one hand over the button pocket of the blue shirt she had chosen because it made him look healthy. The camera was still on. My mother turned her face toward him with the same smile she had been using for the room. Her mouth said one thing. Her eyes said another. Sweetheart, she said, sit down. Noah did not. That was the first soundless break in her story. I stayed seated at the far end of the table. My purse was under my feet. The envelope with my name on it lay beside my fork. The donor letter was still inside my purse. I could feel it there the way you feel a house key in your pocket when you are standing outside a locked door. Noah looked at the camera volunteer. Please keep recording, he said. The volunteer glanced at my mother. My mother's fingers tightened around the edge of Noah's chair. Noah, she said. Not sweetheart this time. Just his name. Flat. Warning. He unbuttoned his pocket. It took him 2 tries. His hands were shaking, but not enough to stop him. The whole room watched that small button. I watched his thumb slide under the fabric. He pulled out the hospital bracelet and held it in his palm. Cheap plastic. Curled from being kept too long. He walked to the gift table and laid it beside the white roses. This is from the day I got my kidney, he said. My mother laughed once. It was a terrible sound, small and bright and wrong. Oh, honey, she said. That is private. Noah looked at her. No, he said. You made it public. No one moved. Then he turned toward the room. My mother did not donate a kidney to me. The video volunteer lowered the camera by half an inch, but the red light stayed on. My aunt pressed her napkin flat against her lap. Linda stopped with her coffee cup halfway to her mouth. My mother's smile stayed in place, only her throat moved. Noah is emotional, she said. This is a very sensitive subject for him. That was the old door, the one she had used for years. Emotion on one side, facts on the other. She always tried to shove us through the first one so nobody would ask about the second. Noah did not go through it. He picked up the bracelet again and carried it to my end of the table. Every step was careful. Every step was alive. He placed the bracelet in front of me. Then he stood beside my chair. My sister gave me her kidney, he said. There are sentences that do not need volume. That one did not. I opened my purse. I took out the folded donor letter. I did not wave it. I did not slap it on the table. I unfolded it once and set it beside the bracelet. Two white things on dark wood. His bracelet. My letter. Same hospital. Same summer. Two names my mother had spent 3 years separating. Linda stood. She did not rush. She set her cup down first. The saucer tapped the table. A tiny clean sound. May I look? She asked me. I nodded. She came around the table and bent over the letter. She did not touch it at first. She read my name. She read the words living donor. Then she looked at the bracelet and read Noah's name. Her face changed. Not dramatically. Worse. It became professional. Diane, she said. Were you the donor? That was the only question anyone needed. My mother opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Noah answered. No. The room took that in. Not all at once. People never understand betrayal all at once. It enters one face, then another. My aunt's napkin slipped from her lap to the floor. One of the church women covered her mouth with 2 fingers. The video volunteer lowered the camera to his chest, still recording the table because he seemed afraid to move it anywhere else. My mother reached for the envelope beside my fork. I put my hand over it. Not fast. Just first. She stopped. That was when I saw her understand one piece of it. Not all of it. Not the pain. Not the years. Just the fact that the money had not worked. Her hand went back to the bouquet. A rose stem cracked under her thumb. Linda picked up the printed program from the gift table. She looked at the line under my mother's name. A mother's sacrifice. Then she folded the program in half. We can't use this, she said. My mother turned toward her. This is a family misunderstanding. No, Linda said. This is a donor identification issue, and your son just identified the donor. The words were plain, good words often are. The video volunteer reached toward the camera. Should I stop? He asked. Noah looked at me first. I did not answer for him. He looked back at the man. No, he said, but don't post her speech. The man nodded once and turned the lens down toward the table. The red light stayed on, but now it was recording the bracelet, the letter, the folded program, and the envelope my mother had slid under my plate. My mother saw the frame. She saw what the room was looking at. Not her face, not her dress, not her grief arranged for good lighting. The objects, the cheap bracelet, the letter, the money, the program with the wrong story on it. She sat down. Not because anyone told her to, because her knees seemed to forget the rest of the plan. The chair made a soft scrape on the carpet. For 3 years I had imagined what I might say if the truth ever had a room. I had imagined too much. Anger writes long speeches in your head. Dignity usually needs fewer words. So I said only one thing. Privacy is not the same thing as being erased. My mother looked at me then. Really looked. Not at my dress. Not at the place where the scar would be. Not at the daughter she could move toward the kitchen door when the picture needed to be clean. At me. Her face did not crumple. That would have been easier to forgive. Instead, the careful parts of it came loose one at a time. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes moved from the letter to Noah, from Noah to me, from me to the envelope under my hand. She understood the order of things. First, she had taken the story, then she had printed it, then she had filmed it. Then she had tried to buy the body it belonged to. Noah picked up the bouquet. My mother's fingers twitched toward it, but she did not touch him. He carried the roses to my end of the table and laid them beside the bracelet. "They gave these to the wrong person," he said. That was the moment the room broke. Not loudly. Not like a movie. My aunt bent down for the napkin and did not come back up right away. One cousin pushed his chair back and stared at the floor. The church woman who had covered her mouth started crying without making a sound. Linda took the folded program and slid it under her notebook, as if removing it from the room. I kept my hands on the table. Empty hands. That felt important. My mother whispered, "Mara." I knew that voice. It had pulled me into hallways, parking lots, and quiet corners my whole life. This time, I did not move. "Yes," I said. She looked at the envelope. "It was only to help you." "No," I said. "It was to keep me useful and quiet." No one corrected me. No one softened it. Noah put his hand on the back of my chair. Not heavy, just there. The camera volunteer turned the camera off. The red light went dark. The story did not. The first thing my mother lost was not public. It was practical. Linda took the folded program with her when she left Miller's table. She did not make a scene. She did not announce a punishment. She only put the paper into her notebook, zipped the notebook into her bag, and told my mother, "We'll need to correct this before anything goes out." Correct. That word did a lot of work. By Monday morning, my mother's name was gone from the speaker list Linda managed. The event page changed from "A Mother's Sacrifice" to "Living Donor Family Conversation." Her photo came down. The paragraph about a mother's courage disappeared. The group did not post the brunch video, but the people in that room did not need it. They had seen the bracelet. They had seen the letter. They had seen the envelope with my name on it sitting beside my plate like a bill for my silence. A week later, Linda called me. Her voice was careful. She said the small donation my mother had made in honor of the donor family had been returned because the name attached to it had been false. She invited Noah and me to submit a new card if we wanted the gift recorded correctly. I said no. Not because the money was dirty. Money is paper. The story around it was dirty. I told her to put it toward transportation vouchers for patients who could not get to follow-up appointments. That felt clean enough. It also felt quiet enough. I did not need my name on a plaque. I had needed it not to be stolen. My mother lost more after that. Not in a thunderclap. In small doors closing. The church women stopped asking her to lead the hospital meal train. The pastor's wife called Noah directly about the next support meeting. My aunt, who had dropped her napkin at brunch and stayed bent down too long, mailed me a card with no Bible verse in it. Just 6 words. "I should have asked you sooner." I kept that card. My mother called me 9 days after the brunch. I let the call go to voicemail. Then I listened in my car. Her voice was smaller than usual. "Mara, I think things were misunderstood," she said. Misunderstood. A strange word for a room full of people watching your son identify his donor. She said she never meant to hurt me. Then she stopped sounding polished for 1 second. "I just wanted Noah to be proud of me," she said. That was the closest she came to truth. I called her back the next morning. "Not that night. Night makes old rolls too easy," she answered on the first ring. "Mara? Yes?" She started talking fast about the video, the church, and how people were acting like she had committed some terrible crime. I let her talk until she ran out of speed. Then I said, "You can repair one part of this. You can call every person you told that story to. You can say, 'Mara was Noah's donor. I let people believe otherwise. You do not have to explain me. You do not have to describe my body. You only have to stop using it.'" She breathed into the phone. "That would humiliate me." I said, "I know. You want that?" "No," I said. "I wanted you not to do it." She cried then. I did not hang up. I also did not rush to comfort her. Both things were new for me. When she asked if we could start fresh, I said no. Not cruelly. Just no. I told her I would see her in rooms where Noah wanted both of us there. I told her I would be civil. I told her she could send medical updates to both of us in the same message if it concerned him. But I would not sit in private corners anymore. I would not take envelopes. I would not wear clothes chosen to hide what she had used. She said, "You're punishing me." I said, "I'm protecting the part of me you kept trying to spend." There was no speech after that. Only breathing. Then she said, very softly, "I don't know how to be your mother now." I said, You can start by telling the truth when it costs you something. She did not answer. That was answer enough. Life did not become dramatic after that. I still went to work. I still helped people print tax forms. I still showed children where the dinosaur books were. I still drank water every morning because my remaining kidney did not care about family reputation. It wanted care. It wanted consistency. It wanted me alive in ordinary ways. Noah started coming with me to some of my donor follow-up appointments. The first time, he brought coffee and got the order wrong. He bought me caramel when I drink black. He looked so nervous handing it to me that I drank half of it anyway. "This is terrible," I said. "I know. You owe me an apology and a real coffee." "I can do both." He did. One Thursday evening, Noah came to my apartment for dinner. I made soup. He brought bread. After dinner, he took the cardboard box out of his bag and set it on my kitchen table. I did not ask why. "I don't want it at my place anymore," he said. The hospital bracelet was inside, still curled, still cheap, still heavy. I looked at him. He said, "It belongs with the person who gave me the day." That almost broke me. Almost. I touched the edge of the box and pushed it back toward him. "No," I said. "It belongs with both of us." So we did what adults do when a thing is too big for one house. We made a place for it. The bracelet stayed in the box. The donor letter went under it. The card from my aunt went on top. Noah wrote the surgery date on the inside of the lid in black pen, and beneath it he wrote 2 names. His, mine. No speech could have done better. A boundary does not make a family smaller. It only shows you which parts were built on your silence. My mother did make some of the calls. Not all. Enough that word got around in the plain way word gets around in a small town. She did not become a villain in every room. Life is rarely that tidy. Some people felt sorry for her. Some people avoided the subject. Some people looked at me too warmly for a while, which was its own kind of discomfort. But no one called her the donor again. That mattered. Noah's health stayed steady. That mattered more. As for my mother and me, we became honest in a colder way. She stopped dropping by without calling. She stopped using my name like a leash. She still slipped sometimes. At Thanksgiving, she started to say, "After everything I went through with Noah," and then stopped herself. No one corrected her. She corrected herself. That was not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever in the old way. But it was a door not being kicked open. I can live with that. Family, I have learned, is not always the person who stands in front of the camera and knows the words. Sometimes family is the brother who stands up with shaking hands. Sometimes it is the woman who folds the wrong program in half. Sometimes it is a card with 6 plain words and no performance around them. Real family is not the person who buys your silence. It is the person who can stand beside your truth without asking you to make it prettier. That's my story. $500 under a plate. 1 scar under a navy dress. 1 hospital bracelet in a cardboard box. 3 years of silence. And 1 brother who finally said my name in the right room. If someone ever tried to make you hide the wound that saved them, please hear me. You are not selfish for wanting the truth told plainly. You are not cruel for refusing to let your pain become someone else's decoration. Share this with someone who needs permission to stop taking the envelope. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done when that bracelet hit the table? Subscribe if you want more stories where quiet truth outlasts a polished lie.